So what will happen is I'll record this and then pull the audio out for the radio. I know you've done stuff with Garry Grant a couple of times. If you say something you're not comfortable with, or you want to rephrase or anything like that, just leave space and then re-say it.
Sounds good.
Because that leaves a gap for me to just identify what's going on.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable?
Let's do it.
Okay. Gary, welcome to the show.
Cheers.
Could you start by introducing yourself and your background in the arts and how you became to the Tasman region?
Sure, that's a big question. My background to the arts is through event management, which started 16 years ago over in Northern Bulla. Started doing community-based events and connecting from there out into the nationally and to a certain degree internationally with artists and volunteers, creating festivals and from events from just community based through to festivals that were attracting a wider audience, 500-600 people. So there's myself personally, I'm not an artist, but I enjoy creating, I guess, the foundation for artists to the container for artists to operate in. That's me as my relationship with the arts. So 3 years ago, I gained a contract with the Golden Bay Community Arts Council as an arts worker. It was funding through Ministry of Culture and Heritage post-COVID to build community strength and resilience. And so then I built this relationship with the Golden Bay community, the artists in the Golden Bay community, and then into the role of arts worker. Tasman region, I've been here for almost 5 years now. Moved from Northern Bulla over to Tasman. It's Northern Bulla was, I felt really alone. Right. I would travel out of the region to collaborate. There were a number of people that I collaborated with in the region, a very small handful. Mary McGill, who's the chair of the Arts Council in Bulla. Tracy McEwing, who is an incredibly talented director. Her and I supported the local youth to do 48-hour film competitions, and we did multiple plays together, and we had lots of fun. But it was pretty lonely on that level. And moving to this region has meant that the people I can collaborate with has expanded, which is good.
Yeah. And you've studied anthropology and psychology?
Yeah. So
how does that play into what you do? Sure.
So I did social anthropology, a BA in social anthropology, and that gave me a foundational understanding of the human condition, that we are a collection of ideas and beliefs, and when we recognise that there's an ability to be very creative as psychology, I then came back and did a graduate diploma in psychology, and at the same time I did, and this is probably feeds more into this, did Healing Touch, which is works with a subtle energy body. So that I did the two together. So I was this something that was highly esoteric and something that was highly scientific. And so, in psychology, I could see them going, yeah, there's this and this, and there's something over there, but we can't talk about it because we can't do a statistical analysis on this. But then the kind of hard science coming into the esoteric world and going, yeah, there's all of this religious dogma and woo-woo, but there's this core essence to here, which is a lived experience. It's quite often I'd read texts and there would be this waffle, for want of a better word, but then the person would like dip into speaking about something, and you could feel the depth of connection to the human condition. And so the two really complemented each other. So that allowed me to building on top of the social anthropology, so this wide foundation to really get a dig deep into the human condition. And it's that I bring to the event management. The spaces that are heart-centered, that they're about inclusivity. They're about creating a bubble where we play with not ideals, but we play with how we want the world to be, because we can. It's a space that we can construct that is separate, and it can be whatever it wants to be. And and a belief that the energies that we can create within that space, then we can take that out into the world and make make a difference. A drop in the puddle.
I mean, I've certainly experienced that from going to events. You come away and there's a halo effect afterwards. You feel more wholesome, like the outside world can feel quite alien for a little while. Like you end up at a service station or something after going to an event and you're like, what? For those who don't know, what does an art worker do? What is that?
So an art worker, what does an art worker do? So and I'll use Golden Bay as an example, and I'm sure this is the same throughout New Zealand, maybe the world, is that artists can and tend to exist within silos. So there's a mode or a modality that they're working within, painters or sculptors or whatever, and there's a language around that, and there's communities that build up around that, but they can become silos. So what the arts work is in this unique position of stepping into all of these individual silos. And from that position, going, seeing the uniqueness of the silos, but also seeing what's what the silos all have in common, and in particular where the challenges are. So for somewhere like Golden Bay, the biggest challenge is the remoteness. So while people can be within these communities, these siloed communities, they can also feel quite lonely because they're disconnected from a wider community. So there can be knowledge within the silo, but if you're distant from other silos, then where does the novelty come in? Where does the ideas that challenge you to explore beyond what can be the habits you can create within the silo? There's a very talented director in the Bay, and they connect into they're from the Netherlands, and they connect into Europe through podcasts and groups that they belong to, and so that's their way of constantly being stimulated to be connecting to something other than what they're used to. Yeah. And access to resources is another thing. You don't have a shop down the road. If you're creating art and you want to get your art out of the region, how do you get people to know that you're there? The somewhere like Golden Bay, there's a big hill in the road, and so there's a limited amount of people go over there, and within that region there's a glass ceiling to the price that artists can get for their artwork, and so you can, as an arts worker, you're seeing this kind of overview, and you're seeing the challenges for each of these silos, and then finding ways to support that. And one of the ways that I do that is through something like an event like the Summer Arts Festival, where you're promoting the region outside and getting traffic to come to like the Arts Council's website, and then people organically flowing through that and seeing the scope of arts within the community, and attracting people to come into the region and then engage with the artists, and it's a chance for the artists to explore how they want to present their creativity and connect with an audience.
I suppose it also raises the profile of the Golden Bay as a
absolutely
healthy and vibrant community.
Yeah. Which
Which leads me on to my next question. So what sort of role do you think the arts plays in the well-being of a community?
It's interesting. I went for a job where the interviewer said to me, "Define art." And I was like, "Ooh, that's an interesting question." And I just said, well, "Art is life." We live in a world that unfortunately has us focused on belief, on constructs. We have these tools that are structured. We're in systems that are structured, and the education is structured towards, in the worst case scenario, and indoctrinating us into those systems. It's very structured. It's very black and white, and the scientific model, in its when it's not used to its full extent, it just plays into that. This is the truth, and I can show you, and I can replicate how I show you. So there's a risk if we totally get swallowed up in that we're stuck within something that's fixed. Where art is about allowing the soul, allowing ourselves to be in a space where there's no rules, where there's a total, let's just do it, and no outcome here. There's just pure self-expression, pure creativity, and that allows, and from a well-being perspective, when someone's stuck within a structure that is not serving them, that's causing them disease, that allows them to find ways other. I think the first step is to find ways to express that the system that they're locked within is unable to, it doesn't have the language for them to express. It's a very postmodernist kind of perspective, and then beyond that, actually start communicating through the art in such a way that other people can then connect with that a different story, and then that, when you integrate with the structure, because I think that structure is important, but it's maladaptive when it's the only thing that's there. But when you bring the two together, you end up with structures that move and grow and have plasticity. I think that creativity is essential to the human condition.
Totally. And people are attracted and are drawn to regions and spaces that have creativity. Nobody ever goes, I'm going to go to that town where there's loads of accountants.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to go to that really lovely place with loads of craft shops and artists and artisans and stuff like that.
Yeah, driving over the hill to, and if people have noticed this, but when as soon as you get up on and then you see into the Takaka Valley, there's a subtle shift in energy. The place has a vibration, and I think that's in the land, and I think it attracts creatives because of that.
Totally.
And I think the creatives then help build that energy.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I often liken it to getting the ferry to Waiheke as well, because there's that barrier to getting there, and it contains that creativity really well in a beautiful space, and I think that sort of draws a certain type of people to it, or certain types of people. What do you think are the main sort of challenges we have in the whole Tasman region with regards building and maintaining those creative communities?
Lack of investment by local and national government.
Yeah, I've certainly seen that.
Yeah, the Tasman District Council does not have an art strategy. It does not. No. They pour thousands and thousands of dollars into Sports Tasman.
Yeah.
And nationally we pour thousands of dollars into sports.
Yeah.
Creative New Zealand did some research, and artists are amongst the lowest paid in our communities. And they started a campaign where with all their funding applications and is that they encouraging artists to make sure that they're paying themselves $35 an hour minimum. And I've been having conversations recently, musicians and how little they're valued within our community. People expect them to perform for free, and they've even got themselves this kind of mentality that it's a privilege for them to be up, to have the spaces to be able to perform. And I'm just, sound is vibration. It's we're energy beings, and when there's a good musician up on the stage and they're creating a vibe, and that's moving through the audience, and the audience are reflecting that back to the person on the stage, it shifts things. And why aren't we valuing that?
Totally.
Yeah. And why aren't we valuing art, public art in our community? And the other thing that the reports that have come out recently from both the Minister of Culture and Heritage and Creative New Zealand are around the return that you get when you invest in the arts, and they're huge. They far outperforms a number of industries in New Zealand.
Ireland, for example, has just brought in that living wage for musicians and artists, because they did a report and they realised that for every euro they invest in the arts, they get like €1.45 back, which is the highest return of pretty much any industry. So it just makes sense because it's so underfunded.
And the current national policy is they're basically going, here are these existing recognised artists within our community, and we're giving them money because they're going to produce art that's nationally and internationally significant. It's such a short-term view on things, because those guys came up in a system where art was invested at ground level, and you do not know where the artist is going to come from. There is no clear pathway. And in fact, art tends to come out of adversity. It tends to come from the fringes. It tends to come from the people who are looking for a way of expressing themselves that they're not getting from the existing system.
And I think for that to happen, you need a decent welfare state Because without that, there would have been no Beatles or Rolling Stones. Well, probably Rolling Stones, but there would have been no Beatles without a welfare state. And the arts, without that kind of government support, just becomes the plaything of people who are already wealthy. And what value is art that comes out of people who are just don't have that struggle or don't have a voice to say something because it's a luxury. It's something.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing, because when you say that, what it brings to my mind is there's the ivory tower elitist arts community where an artist gets to a point where they're recognised, and then all of a sudden they start to command a high amount of money, and then those who are wealthy start going, well, I've got an art piece of so and so, and it's part of my investment portfolio, and isn't it wonderful, and I'm not criticising that, but that's very much an elitist view on art. Then there's the art, which is from grassroots up and through, and that art is the art that's well-being. It's the art that shifts, has the potential of shifting the human condition. By creating, from a postmodern perspective, it's creating other ways of communicating who we are. Yeah, and the beauty with art, language can do a certain degree, but it's particularly English is not very good at communicating anything to do with emotion or anything to do with energies.
Yeah, the nuance or texture of the human condition as well. It's quite blunt. With that. What do you think attracts people to this region, like artists to this region? We're quite rich in creative people,
particularly in Golden Bay. There's Grant Knowles believes that I think it's 2% of people in New Zealand would say that they're artists, and he believes it's 10% in Golden Bay. And certainly in this region there seems to be. It's interesting, Vancouver Island, another. Get a ferry to it. It's very, very similar to Golden Bay. Incredibly talented artists, all in their twilight years. All in. They've got to a certain point. They've done their career. They've been, successful. They've managed to get to themselves where they have the space to follow a passion that they had, and then in that space they're starting to create this incredible art, and that's what I see as the rightly or wrongly, that's the environment here. It's people who've come here for lifestyle, and sunshine hours, and the connection to nature. And they have the resources and the space to be creative, and they don't need to be making money out of it, but they get to a point where they are able to get some kind of return for what they're doing.
I wonder if it's that disconnecting from the majority of the way the world works that's working for artists. Like it's going over the hill, it's getting the ferry to Vancouver Island, getting the ferry to Waiheke or Great Barrier Island. It's that ability to disconnect and just be in your craft or in your community with that sort of thing.
I think that's interesting, and I think it's a disconnect to reconnect, or to deepen the connection. I think that the world we live in has a belief that being in high stress jobs and making money is the truth. And that's that structured kind of aspect that I'm talking about.
Well, it's certainly the way that the education system gears you up to work.
Absolutely,
And it's and I think there is a lot of alternative education systems around here which also are helping bring up that mentality
to a certain degree.
Let's talk about Coalesce. You're the co-founder of Coalesce. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is and what the origin story is?
So Samaya, the other co-founder, and I were travelling back from the West Coast, and we were chatting about the community that we lived in, and recognising that there was this depth of talent, and what it would be like to create a space where that depth of talent could come together and share with each other, you know. And so workshop based, community, co-created space, and I think that was in November, and then that New Year's we had the first coalesce. We had the focus of it being around for a year around the solstices, solstice and equinox, and just these, you know, lightly curated gatherings. So that was a number of years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and it's now just in its current form is down to a New Year's gathering, and it's just recently kind of gone through a bit of a rebirth where the size that it's getting to met the lack of structure, and the lack of structure allowed for discombobulation to happen, and so we've done some restructuring to kind of bring some foundational strength to it, so that we can then continue to build capacity within the crew, to build capacity within the event, so to build in a supportive, still co-creative. The interesting thing for me with Coalesce is that the original structure was very flat, very open, and the assumption there is that the people who will connect with that are able to operate at a certain level of consciousness. But it's also an open thing, so someone's coming in and not operating on that level of consciousness can cause disharmony, and a drain, you know. So through that, you know, myself recognised, speaking for myself, recognised that those with skills need to be acknowledged, you know, that certain aspects of the event wouldn't happen if it wasn't for that person with those skills, and that wasn't happening within the structure. It was, but it wasn't, you know, and that's where we've got to, is the, you know, recognition, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the person has the skills for a set job. The skills they might have is a passion and a commitment and a willingness to a job, and that's enough, you know, for us as a group to invest, to support that person and invest. You know, the one of the things that we've put into place is we have a formal crew carer who's has an interest and a passion around NVC non-violent communication, and so we're going to invest in them to get more training, so that they're able to hold that space for the crew if and when that gets to a point where there needs to be support, mediation within the organisation. So and that's happening right through.
And for somebody who's never been to a coalesce gathering before, what would they expect?
So what makes it unique? I think, because you know, festivals are festivals. So there's music and there's workshops and there's food and there's people and you know. So what makes Coalesce unique is that it's really focused on that whoever's there are the festival. That they every person who comes is going to bring something that contributes to that festival. that, you know, like the big events around New Year's, like Twisted Frequency, there is a stage and there is a performer on that stage, and there are a bunch of people standing in front of that stage and are being in effect entertained. You know, and they're and you know, the thing that they're bringing is themselves, of course, but there's not they're not so much contributing. They're not making the space. They're in the space and being entertained. To whatever degree, depending on the substances that they're on. And that's where Coalesce is different, is that when you turn up, you are actively creating that space. So while there's workshops and while there's music, there's also space in between for whatever. And the other important thing is that there's nothing there that's driving anyone. You know, the people who will go to a traditional festival with a big sound system, you know, someone's curated the soundscape and the energetic space from the moment that sound system starts up to the moment it shuts down, and they're taking the energy and shifting the energy, so you're being pulled. You know, whereas Coalesce is about, you know, what energy is up in this space. You know, what serves is going to serve the collective.
And that's why it's also it's drug and alcohol free and really family, because it enables people to. And we've got music scheduled, but like the music scheduled through to, I think the latest is on New Year's is 1 or 2 o'clock. The rest of the time it's, you know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. It's not a big sound system, but there's a quality sound system and talented people that come and share, but it's not driving. You know, it's connecting. People to sit around the fire and chat and bond and connect.
And when the sound system dies down, that's what happens. Is then, you know, the creativity in the space has you know, the ability to come to the fore.
And so how is it all? So it has some level of curation. Like, how do we work out who plays and who offers workshops and this sort of stuff? And there seems to be a lot of encouraging people to step forward into spaces, like try things out that they may never have tried before. And I think that's my partner and I were talking about it the other day, and we were like, the thing with Coalesce is that, and any really good festival is like, you go away a slightly more informed or a better person than you came sometimes. It's a real growth experience. How does that sit with you?
And I think that's the you know, I look at my children. You know, I talked about earlier about me going out of the northern Bulla region to connect with my tribe, my community, and bring, you know, a sound system and my skills. And one of the events that I had a significant and long-term relationship with was Circulation Festival, which was the circus folk, and I'd bring my 2 boys with me, and 2 older boys with me, and the thing that I saw was that the level of growth they went through from when they arrived to when they left. And there's all sorts of stories I can tell you. One in particular by my young middle child, Deacon, at the end of the festival when we were packing up, is standing on top of a 5-foot ladder, bouncing on one foot, spinning hula hoops in his fingers, and just full of joy, you know, and there was no fear. There was no. He was conscious. He was connected, and that was the gift he had got. And he was young, you know. He was, I don't know, 6, 7, and you know, in the other world, someone would have been get down off there. You know, that's dangerous. You're going to hurt yourself. But in that world, wicked.
Yeah, you see, there's a difference in children who grow up around gatherings and community and festivals, I've noticed, certainly within my own children, they grow their confidence and the sense of self-awareness and self-belief and the comfort with people much more readily.
And that's both my boys, is that they're, the feedback I'm getting is their ability to enter conversation with adults, to look adults in the eye and actively communicate
as peers and equals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what do you hope that people take away from being at Coalesce when they come down off that mountain with connection? Yeah. That's the key. I think for to take the bigger picture, to step back into anthropology. A society will thrive when the people within that society are connected. Totally.
Yeah. And connected to themselves.
Yeah.
Connected to each other. Connected to the environment. Are able to sit in the dark and the light to recognise, there's something not right there, and it's affecting this part of what we're doing, and be able to put energy into that. That's the only hope going forward.
Totally.
Yeah.
And for people who are listening or watching, how do they go about getting involved? On you looking for volunteers and musicians and what is it you're looking for, and how do they
all of
get
that
involved?
There's no set community. There's no these people have done it before, so they're going to be doing it again. It's every year. I mean, I think you asked this already, is how do you, it's lightly curated, but how do you curate it? It's whatever turns up. But it's not whatever turns up, because the any event, there's a large level of care that goes into creating an event, particularly one that's family friendly. You need to know that the people that are coming in, and you're creating space for them to hold space, that they can hold that space.
Hold it safely as well.
Safely, absolutely. The thing we brought in a couple of years ago was about, anyone who's doing anything that's to do with well-being needs to be trauma informed. They need to be able to recognise and hold a space, because there'll be people who will turn up and not even know sometimes that something's going to, open up for them. And we need to know that person's going to recognise that and be able to provide that person with the support.
So as a punter, or a potential punter's the wrong word. Participant is a better word. As a participant, be it actively on stage, or not on stage, or leading a workshop, or just wanting to be in that space, how do they find out where?
So Coalesce Gathering on Facebook is the best way of connecting with us. There's an email account, coalescegatheringnz@gmail.com, but go to the
and it's happening over
Facebook.
New Year's. Cannon
the 30th through to the 2nd.
And what's your vision for the future of Coalesce?
I don't have one.
That's just good. Let it organically grow.
I mean, what's for me, my vision for Coalesce is that it'll be what the community serves the community. My vision for myself with and that through Coalesce is that I want to be walking alongside other people and watching them and being a part of supporting them to grow into their passion.
I mean, I'm a big fan. This will be my 4th year now. It's the story that we have is that we moved to the area and we didn't know anybody. We couldn't find our tribe at all, and we were going slowly mad in the suburbs of Nelson. And we came along to Coalesce on New Year's Eve, quite late, totally unprepared, and it was like a breath of fresh air. It was just, everything just opened up. It was so utterly welcoming of us and our family. and it was just there was just there's an openness and a kindness and a beauty that kind of in many ways made being in the region much more palatable, because you then take those friendships away, and there are groups and there are meetings and stuff that happen outside of the core gatherings, which are just phenomenal.
Because that story's a common story. You know, there's people that met at Coalesce that are now married and have children. You know, there's that's you know, and I think that's the there's been times where I've had to work really hard to ensure that openness of the structure has remained. You know, there's been a number of people that have gone, we'll just have it for this group of people. We'll just you know, and it's just like, no, that's not Coalesce. It's this space where, you know, anyone can come, and you referred to it as, if you've got a passion, if you've got something that you've got knowledge and skills and passion about, and you want to share it, you know, Coalesce is a great place to come and give it a go, you know. Yeah,
I mean, I've certainly seen loads of like relationships form, like intimate relationships form, and intimate relationships that were already there be strengthened by being involved in Coalesce. And we sort of mentioned it before about that going away to come back, with regards to the geographical locations of creative communities. Coalesce seems to offer that opportunity for community, and that you go away from your day-to-day life and the normal hedonistic New Year's Eves to come back to who we all truly are in relationship with other people, and that then you take that back into your life at a much sort of richer level.
You're reminded. It's remembering. I think that's in all of us, but you know, that's actually, I think, the power of a festival. There was when I first started on this journey, there was a chap, Pat Trembeth, and he had been instrumental in, I guess, upskilling, upgrading the Penguin Club in Oamaru, which is an incredible building. It's in the old area down by the port, and it's off the back of it, and the room, it's a musos club, and the room is shaped like the inside of a speaker box. It's a trapezoid, and he'd been doing sound in England for Uriah Heep and stuff like that, you know, big old sound systems and new sound. I was in a friendship with his son, you know, who'd spent, you know, his early years underneath the sound desk at these big concerts, and so I connected with him, and he said, look, I've got some old sound gear, you know, what you're doing sounds really cool, you know, we just want a donation, come down, grab it. And it was a mixing desk and other bits and pieces. And so I cruised down there, and I walked into the space, and there was just like a feeling, you know, and this is big timbers and Oamaru stone building, you know, it had substance. And it felt like it was holding this vibration, and it was like an open mic night, and I saw these people get up on the stage, and they, you know, this nervousness was kind of as anyone that's on a stage for open mic, but really quickly they would settle into this space where the energy in the building held them, and the sound system was such a beautiful sound system that the person up there was like able to clearly communicate with the people there. So then that allowed the people to connect with the musician, and then there was this feedback loop going, so that there's this vibration being held that was supporting everyone in that space to express and connect. And I realised, you know, that's how whoever this dude was, he'd set up this space where there was this gorgeous feedback loop, and that energy, that level of consciousness, that level of connection was being held in this structure, you know. And I was like, wow, that's, that's incredible. And I think festivals do that on a temporary basis. There's a moment in time where there's a space held where, if it's curated well, is that a group of people to come together, they connect, there's a vibration, a field, and that radiates out. And then each person that's been sitting in that rarefied field then walks away and seeds it
totally
all over the place. So yeah, I think that's it's in their highest manifestation and most significant form. That's the benefit of a festival.
Totally.
Yep.
And the location for Coalesce is picked on purpose as well, isn't it? There's a real purposeness to where that is. And can you share where the festival happens?
Yeah, it's up at Canaan Downs. I don't know if there's... Well, I mean, Canaan's an incredible place to be holding events. It has its challenges. Yeah, I think that location definitely plays into, but there's also a part of me that's, and you probably hear it in my voice. It's questioning if that's the only thing.
No, I don't
certainly there's the festivals that I ran up in Northern Bulla. The location that we had was stunning. It was on a river with an estuary. The beach was just there, surrounded by native bush. Plenty of area for camping, unique little spots. That made that festival significant, but it was also the people that came and breathed life into that made it what it was. As I'm thinking this through, there'll be locations that won't allow that to happen. That would actually be detrimental to that kind of thing happening. But there's definitely plenty of locations that that will contain or hold.
Totally. And you mentioned about some of the challenges, like the weather can be quite punishing up there, but I found that when we have a punishing weather event, it really pulls people together. It's quite phenomenal. It almost becomes like the massive hailstorm we had last year. It was just fun. We were just ferrying people from one place to another, and then it popped that sort of blitz mentality, pulled people together even further. And then when Devon played their first set, in defiance of the weather, it was just phenomenal. It just went mental, and I think that's beautiful. Weathering the storm together. There's a shared experience. I think that's a part of, and there's other ways of doing that. I think that ritual and ceremony is another way of doing that. That everyone connects together in experiences or journeys through something together. That's an important part of starting or creating the container. There's a festival, Convergence, that is. I'm not sure what's happening with that. A number of years ago I went and put the sound system in 2 years in a row, and when you turn up, all the food's catered for. It's an old scout camp, and there's about half a dozen marquees empty, and a kitchen space. And the first thing that happens is that everyone comes together in this communal courtyard kind of space, and there's a one person steps up who holds the heartbeat and talks to everyone and talks about the kaupapa and calls for a lead for an aspect of the festival. So there's the
the infrastructure crew, there's the toilet cleaning crew, there's the workshop crew, there's the cabaret crew, there's the the festival ferries, there's the kids zone, there's all of these aspects. None of it's been organised, none of it's there. There's resources, a container full of resources, but there's no structures. And says who's keen on holding the space, taking lead, and it tends to be people who've been before will step up and go, yep, I'm keen for that. And then they all line up with their little flag of whatever it is, and then everyone else is invited to go and join one of these crews. And so then so that happens, and then those groups can go and sit, and then they talk about there's two invitations. The first one is that they share what resources they've got and what the role entails. And the second one is that evening there's going to be a show, and each one of the groups has a chance of getting up on the stage and doing a skit that communicates who they are and what they do and how the community can support them in what they do. And so, like the maintenance, I was there. The maintenance crew did the classic, man with a plank, and the crew's all lined up. And he's turning around, everyone's ducking and stuff, and and in that moment, and that's the other thing. The person that holds the heartbeat walks around each one of the groups and energetically seeds that heartbeat to the groups. Yeah. So it works on that more intimate layer, and it just from there the whole festival just goes boop. And then these empty marquees all of a sudden get decorated and stages put in and then the sound systems and schedules pop up and poof, the festival comes alive. Yeah.
You mentioned the cabaret, and I know that Coalesce do the cabaret as well. And for me, that's always been, no matter how much the quality of the other acts and stuff are, the cabaret's always been a highlight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think that the cabaret brings to the festival in itself? Like, because it's usually quite later on in the festival, isn't it?
Yeah. So that idea came from for me from Circulation, where they do a Renegade show, and it's on the last night, and it's a chance for people who have learnt something through the festival to then get up and share it with everyone else. At Circulation they have a PG version and they have a R-rated version, and I won't talk too much about the R-rated, but there's some things I've seen that it's just like, okay, right. That's a thing. And I think what that does is it's like a celebration. I think that's the energy of it, is that I know you, I've been at this workshop with you, I've seen you working on this, and here you are up on stage doing it, and the thing I really love about the circus folk, and I haven't seen it because it's a little bit different with Coalesce, but it's there, is that when someone's up there and they're doing something and they're not quite getting it, is everyone at Circulation will celebrate them. Yeah, they're cheering and they're just the focus isn't on that they're failing. The focus is on they're on the edge of they're on their learning edge. Yeah, and they're up there and they're on that edge, and I want to see them succeed. And I really want to encourage them, and I love that, and I think that's what we're doing in Coalesce with the cabaret. Is there's a person up there, and they are on an edge. But when you get up on a stage in front of people, that's an edge. Yeah, and we're celebrating them. Yeah, and
everybody wants to see them succeed, or
absolutely
see them be human about it, and share. Yeah, there's such an outpouring of love. Both ways, and like the person on stage giving the offering and the people receiving that offering in that cabaret, that I think is beautiful. Yeah, I've always shied away from it, but I'm going to get on stage and share some stuff, because I think it's a growth opportunity. And you see the kids come up and do shows, and it's like, it's just a wonderful opportunity for people to go and grow and do a thing, which I think is phenomenal. As I said at the beginning, I'm not an artist. I'm very much the person that likes creating the container. So I can't imagine me getting up on the stage as of yet. But that's what I understand is for people is that there's it's a safe place to explore an edge. But I think that artists need people like you to help build stuff for us in order to step forward. It's really helpful having known that there is something being created there. Because like you said quite early on in the meeting, we work in silos quite often, and it takes an artworker or a curator or a organizer of a festival to give the opportunity and impetus and the audience as well. The thing with creatives that I found is that the organisational side of things is not their strength. Absolutely.
And that's what I love about the Summer Arts Festival is that I create a container. So I do all the people come with the ideas and I sit with them and we talk about it, and then we come to an agreement. So all the kind of financial expectations are sorted. What people can expect to get from the workshop is sorted. That's loaded up as an individual event, and then collectively those events make up the festival, and then I promote those. So all of that work that's not their strength is what I do, so that when it comes to them having their moment, all they need to focus is on being a creative. All the rest is sorted. And I've noticed, this is its third year for the Summer Arts Festival next year, but last year there was just this, people had gone, this works, and gone, boof, such a step up. Totally.
The creatives are generally really not adverse to doing that other side of stuff, the business side of stuff, and creating opportunities and things. And I've worked as a creative coach quite a bit before moving here, and that's always the thing that creatives struggle with, is like self-organisation and imposter syndrome and such like this. And that's why this radio show and thing exists. And because I trained as a fine artist and then realised I knew nothing about how to actually make a living doing it. So when I did a postgraduate in business management, which I think works really well, but you can end up bastardising your own creative energy by having to think commercially. It's
interesting that, isn't it, that once you that creativity, there is no in the creative process, there's no quantification. There's qualification. Very much so. Qualification. There's no quantification. As soon as you start to quantify it, as soon as you start to try and put a monetary value, as soon as you try to put some kind of label or structure around it, the creativity side of it begins to diminish. It
shackles and it becomes difficult.
That's right. And I mean, there's a number of creatives I've talked to that I need to make a living, so 4 days of the week I make cups and saucers, and I sell them at the market. They put a roof over my head and food on the table. On the fifth day, it's totally for me to be creative, and I'll make whatever I want to make, and sometimes they sell, sometimes they don't. But
sometimes they lead to something bigger as well.
That's right.
I used to do the same thing. I would work 4 days a week in my design practice and 1 day a week doing illustration or whatever I damn well pleased, or just going down the beach with the kids. I think it's really important to make that space for yourself as a creative person. So what's next for you, Garry? What are you working on other than Coalesce at the moment?
For me personally, life's been challenging over the last last little while. So it's about growth for me at the moment, and yeah, and a lot of inwardness to go outward again. Yeah. It's one of those moments in life where it's the less actively going out, although I've got contracts and stuff, so I'm forced, for want of a better word, to be out in the engaging with the world, but there's the energy is certainly inward. And at the moment.
And what sort of advice would you give to somebody who was looking at sort of arts work as a career, or somebody who's just going, I quite like the sound of that, and I like the sound of what you've been talking to me about. How do I get involved in
how do you get involved as being in the arts? There's multiple ways of coming at it. I would have said that I guess the skills that I came at it with were from an event management point of view. Quite a very broad level of experience in working with creatives to create events. But I've seen creatives come into it as a way of being of service. There's not I'm trying to think about like if there's a set career path, and there's kind of not, and the skills that I see, authenticity is the biggest. The thing that people say to me is that when we engage with each other, there's a feeling of authenticity, and I think particularly with creatives, that's fundamental. That's there. And then there's funding. That's the biggest challenge at the moment with the government we've got, is finding a way of funding being in that role.
It's almost as if we need to find a different way of funding the arts, because the governments and the councils are just not interested. You mentioned the creative strategy for the region, and I've heard that there's been several attempts at getting that, and it's just ended up in a bottom drawer in TBC.
They've created some incredible documents. I came across one that was done in the early 2000s in the archives in the Golden Bay Community Arts Council, and someone put a lot of effort into that document. It did nothing. It's a document. I think it comes back to, we live in a world that unfortunately has its focus, it's very head driven, and it has its focus on the material world. And that sounds cliched, but it's when you look at it, where money's going, what they're investing in, and we really need, religion's not the answer. It got warped. It's spirituality has kind of become cliched and has its issues, but those things talk to the belief in something that's bigger than ourselves. And connectivity and consciousness about what we're doing, instead of living out, set scripts. And we were actually conscious of, I'm behaving this way. Why am I behaving this way? Why am I doing this way? Doing this, connecting with inward and to our environment, and seeing how, that's having an impact whether it's nourishing or having an impact on our being. So that, you know, it's that creativity is a vehicle for wellness on every level, you know, and we need to invest in that.
Yeah,
because,
I totally agree.
Yeah, how do we find our way forward? How do we heal? How do we shift the things that aren't, you know, working in this world? Yeah, it's interesting. You know, there's a lot of podcasts that are coming across, you know, my desktop around AI, and yeah, there's some scary stuff around it. You know, there really is. There's also the potential that there's a tool that is able to do these set mundane things, the structured stuff, and that may allow for more space for the creativity.
I agree. Yeah.
However, that's not valued at the moment. And I've heard talks about, you know, universal incomes and stuff, and you know, I don't see how that works personally, and I don't think there's anyone does. But because there is this big divide between what we've got now and the potential. You know, it's the Star Trek, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a big distance to travel before we get to that.
Yeah, it's, you know, traveling around the world with the universe and exploring and being creative and making, yeah. But yeah, there's a big disconnect.
Yeah, there's a saying I often come back to: there are more currencies than coins. I wrote a piece on it as well. In that, I think it's a thing that I hold quite firm. It's certainly where I find myself, of being sort of out of work for a prolonged period of time, but finding much more value in what I'm doing as a result of that than earning really good money before, but being spiritually and psychologically bereft is definitely a different thing. But that's where something like Coalesce can help, because that it does give you the richness that
that's part of the picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's looking and exploring other ways of being. Yeah. My mum was just down in Otatahu at the protest of you know, something to do with our space program, and there's all sorts of, you know, underneath conversations that are happening where they're using this technology for you know, pretty insidious,
nefarious.
Nefarious activities, and she was there in her 70s, incredible late 70s, with, you know, a bunch of people from all sorts of walks of life and particularly young folk, and she said that the concern that she has is that, you know, a number of these young folk don't have hope.
Yeah.
And they're looking, their conversations are around, you know, going bush and creating community and collective that's separate from this, because the world that they're in and the way it's being marketed to them through social media and what they see in the news and what they're feeling is alienating.
They're becoming disconnected from each other, and I think that's the weapon that we have, is about trying to help people reconnect to them, like we mentioned before, to themselves and to each other, and only then can we start. Not only then we can start creating hope in these people. Liz's mum was down there as well. She's in her 70s, and just watching people getting carted away and stuff. And it's there's a strength in seeing old people and young people together protesting the same things. It's like the old people have seen it before. The young people are investing in their future.
Because they're being idealistic. Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Really beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how much I can say because this is going out in the public. But the real interesting thing with those people that are working in that space, and particularly the elders, is the elders know how the system works, and so they're setting it up so that and this is not how they're being portrayed. They're being portrayed as anarchists and terrorists and all the rest of the stuff. But they're actually setting it up so the structure, the engagement they're having, they know what's going to happen, you know. And so they're setting up mechanisms in there to support both themselves and the people, particularly the young folk that are coming through, and it's their first engagement with being arrested, and the lack of compassion that the system has for someone who's actually, you know, doing something they should in our society have every right to do, to say, you know, what you're doing's not right.
I think it's not really a right, it's an obligation. Totally. It's a totally an obligation in that we should be investing in the futures of people. Like they talk about the 7 generations and stuff, such like that. We should be thinking in that way. But we don't.
Well, some of us do.
Yeah.
But as a society, no, we don't. And you know, we're moving away from the arts and into politics. But the whole system's geared up towards you know, 3-year cycles and stuff like that. And you know, I would have thought with MMP that there was an opportunity for each diverse way of looking at things to bring novel ways of doing things and sharing them into a collective, and that the collective would shift, but with the diversity of perspectives, like very much a strength-based way of thinking about it. And I think that potential is there with MMP. It's not how it's being acted out. It's being acted out as an adversarial, and you know, trying to undermine another person's perspective rather than going, I hear that your concern is this and this. You know, I've done some research and you know, this country they do this, and in this country they do this, and this country they do that. How is that going to support us to create you know, a way of doing this?
I mean, I think that art and politics are so intertwined, and I think that the creativity and the arts are how we can approach the problems that we face. And I think that in that respect that they are very, very intertwined. But also, just singing a beautiful song is can be an act of rebellion when hard times are hard. So I do think that art and politics are so intertwined. I don't see a separation necessarily. So I'm quite comfortable with verging into that field. It's because I think it's creatives that will save the world, because we will think about things in a different way than the structures that aren't working are. And there's about connection and compassion and ideas and stuff like this. That is what we're sadly lacking for the most part in the umbrella of society, not at the grassroots level. And I think that's why things like Coalesce are so important. I think that's why arts workers and arts are so important, and these conversations are important because it's about giving an Instagram filter free view on what it's actually like to live, to walk these paths. On that note,
I like it. It's the Instagram filter free. I'm the same. I believe that it's creativity. It's my part of my journey at the moment is exploring, you know, the human condition in a deeper level. The only way through that is through connection, and through is connection and compassion and curiosity and creativity.
Totally.
Closing,
is there anything else you want to say?
No.
And how do people find you if you want to be found? If you want to be found.
I don't know if I do want to be found at the moment. I mean, you know, if you want to engage with some of the projects that I'm involved in, well, Coalesce is the most immediate, and the Summer Arts Festival, Golden Bay Summer Arts Festival, is
that's imminent, isn't it?
That's in February.
Right.
Yeah, it's a project that I'm passionate about. Yeah, I see great potential in.
Grand. And tickets are on sale at the moment for Coalesce.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Get them. Get tickets.
Yep.
Everybody get tickets.
Yeah.
Not too many people. We can't have.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the ticketing site knows how many people
Yeah.
that can be up there.
Thank you, Gary. I really enjoyed this. I've a
Yeah.
feeling this is going to be a two-parter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which kind of came to me halfway through. I was like, that'd be a great idea. Let's do this in two parts because there's so much richness spoken. I don't want to cut anything out.
Funny.
Great. Thank you so much, Gary.
Yeah, back
Cheers,
at you.
Chief.
Thanks.
Right.
Cool.
Come off now, thank you. Yeah.
That was cool.
Thanks a lot for that.
We went places that I didn't expect.
Yeah, that happens. I'm not a fan of doing